Welcome back to WGAB, the GabCast, a Gabber newspaper production. I am Cameron Healy, the assistant editor of the Gabber newspaper, with my co-host.
I'm Patrick Heinzen. I'm the news and politics reporter for the Gabber, and we're here with the owner and publisher of the Gabber.
I am Kathy Celestri, or Kathy Celestri Loper, depending on how you know me. Kathy Loper, Kathy Celestri, all kinds of names. This is great.
So, Kathy is here with us today to talk about our Beach Renourishment Memorial. And then we're also going to talk about Gulfport's candidate forum and then the lovely Gulfport Cigar Company.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Sorry.
Of course.
Yeah. So
will you please explain to me what a bipartisan memorial is?
So this was a new one for me. I had never heard of this, and I was a City Hall reporter for the Gabber newspaper for years. So it was new. So let's back up.
Okay.
We did this thing a long time ago where we decided it was a great idea to put all these houses and condos and things on our beaches.
Yeah.
And our beaches have been artificially built up. Initially, developers dredged and made more land. Like, for example, Passagrill and St. Pete Beach did not used to be connected. So that's all like...
I didn't know that.
That's dredging that has happened. Yeah. And it was called Long Key. It was really small. And so as you do that, the problem is water and sand want to do what they want to do. And so as storms come through, they rearrange the beaches. Johns Pass, which separates Madeira Beach and Treasure Island, that was actually created by a hurricane. So there's been all these things happening to the beaches since European Americans decided that we are so much more fun than Oklahoma. And while I do not disagree, it's becoming problematic as we have more and more storms, as we have more and more people. Mm-hmm. And so the federal government has got involved, and the Army Corps of Engineers has been the agency that has been renourishing the beaches. And renourishing beaches means that they take a barge out, they pump a bunch of sand up in a big giant tube and push it over onto the beach and make the beach bigger.
Yeah.
Or make the beach as big as they want it to be, or as big as it was before the storm. So there's a couple of things with this that have been a problem historically, and I'm speaking as a layman. I'm not an environmental scientist. I'm not a lobbyist. I've just been watching and reporting on this for a few years now. The Army Corps of Engineers, obviously it is part of the federal government, which means that it is funded by tax money, right? Mm-hmm. So your paycheck every week, FICA gets a whole bunch of it.
Okay.
Right? FICA gets some of yours, get some of mine, get some of our producer, all that stuff. So if you're paying taxes and we're using it to renourish a beach, how would you feel knowing that that beach was now private?
Yeah.
Like you can't go here, it's in front of private property. Mm-hmm. So, and that's not the case because the way the law has written, and Aaron Chimelis, am I saying that right?
Yes. Chimelis.
Yes, Chimelis. He can't be here today. But he wrote this wonderful article for us about what's going on now. And he breaks it down and explains it. Please go to thegabber.com and take a look for the beach renourishment article, because he explains that when they renourish the beaches, in Florida in 1970, we passed a law that said anything water side of the high water line, meaning where the water comes to at high tide, anything on that side of the high water is public land.
Yes.
Even if you have a private beach, you still can use the water. Nobody can kick you out of the water. It's riparian rights. Mm-hmm. They end at the high water line. So the obvious problem with this is, so if we renourish the beach, now we've added more sand and the high water line is further out. So does that mean that that beach is private? And no, it does not.
Yes.
It
Aaron said that there's an erosion control line.
An ECL line. Yeah, an ECL, erosion control line. But the Army Corps, and that's Florida. That's only Florida. That's not how it is in other states.
Okay.
And so the Army Corps of Engineers started with Superstorm Sandy up in the Northeast. And they realized their practices were not consistent. So like, we've got to make them consistent. We've got to make them all the same. So here's the deal. Everybody has to agree. If we're going to renourish your beach, you have to sign that you understand that that's now public property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because renourishment isn't simply a matter of doing stuff from the water side. They need to get onto the beach, onto the sand and do things. I mean, there's things that have to happen. They need egress. They need an easement. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they decide they're going to streamline it, make everybody sign that. Well, in Florida, we already have this law in place that says, hey, wait, no, we've got this here. We already agree that that's public. But the ACOE, the Army Corps, was trying to get people to sign that their property would be public, and people in Pinellas County were like, well, wait, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sign that.
Yeah.
So then they said, okay, well, we're not going to renourish your beaches if you won't sign this. And what happened was, aside from regular erosion, there was actually a debate happening when Idalia came through last fall, and it just ripped away most of the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's severe now. So that is a long history, but that is the fastest way I can give it to people.
Of course.
Army Corps of Engineers like, look, we're not going to do this unless you agree we can have this land. And people are saying, but wait, we already said that this is the land. We don't need to. We can't do an easement and this and that. And so bipartisan, which is almost, as Aaron points out in the article, almost completely flippin' unheard of, bipartisan in the Florida House of Representatives. That means that the very wokest of us and the very Trumpiest of us all agree, or most of us agree, this is something that needs to happen. They've created something called a memorial.
Okay.
A memorial is not like a statue in the sand. What it is memorializing the history of what has happened with the law. They are presenting this to the federal government and saying, here is a list and a history of what we've been doing on the beaches and why we think the Army Corps of Engineers needs to understand that they need to allow this renourishment to continue. So, and Lindsay Cross, I've known her for years. She used to be one of my yoga instructors, actually. She's an environmental scientist. Kim Burfield is the other sponsor in the Florida House. She and I were about a year apart in high school at Clearwater High. I think they're probably pretty opposite on the sides of the fence from what I can gather. And that's okay, because I know that the main push for this memorial and getting the Army Corps of Engineers to agree to do the renourishment is economics. I mean, they did a good job of saying, but the turtles. Well, honestly, in the history of Florida, we've never passed a law that was simply for the turtles.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of wildlife concerns. And obviously, there's an economic driver. If our beaches are gone, people are not going to come here to sit on a seawall.
Well, I have a question about that, because I fully understand it, but at the same time, it kind of seems like a losing fight against Mother Nature. You know, like, we can keep dumping sand, but that's not going to stop the sand from continually getting eroded over and over again. And eventually, hurricanes are going to become stronger. Sea level rise is just going to take that over in a way. Is that not the case? I mean...
So I am not an environmental scientist, but I am, by degree and training, a historian and a journalist. And I can tell you, historically, you're absolutely flipping right. But if you're a politician, you have 6 years.
Yeah.
So you have to worry about your 6 years. And no, I mean, but how do you, you're right.
That's the thing, is there's no right answer.
Personally, 100% against beach renourishment, which is a very unpopular thing. People, the 10 people watching this podcast, you ride me out of town on a rail, burn an effigy of me, it's fine. I don't agree.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we've built these houses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you tell somebody you paid $4 million for your house? Guess what? Waterfront property, water above property, water below property.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I remember I was talking to one of the candidates for the Treasure Island election. He was talking about how they always say that only build your house on, like, rock and soil, and it's like, well, in Treasure Island, it's just sand, you know.
Well, so there's a couple of parables for this. One is the three little pigs, right? The only little pig house that lasted was the one that was built of brick. And then there's like the Jesus one, right? The wise man built his house on the rock, and the foolish man. I mean, this is not a new thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've been in some of those houses on the beach, and they're super freaking nice. So I get it. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I get it. And so we're broadcasting live in front of Gulfport Cigar, which means you're getting a lot of what in the industry we would call nat sound or natural sound. And that includes sirens, some wind. It's a windy day. It's apparently 2 degrees in February in Gulfport, right? 2? Feels like 2.
Freaking cold.
It's pretty cold.
It's
With
cold.
the wind, I am chilly.
We had to delay the start of the podcast until
I got
Kathy
my
her
drug reg. Yeah. So that's the beach memorial. Does that make more sense to both of you now?
That really
Yeah.
cleared it up for me. Because when I read memorial, I was like, kind of what you
does
said, like a
that
statue in the
mean?
sand is like, what are they memorializing? You know,
Right. I thought it was a
supposed to be
weird
like
name.
a memorandum or something in the
Well-
article, so I put a question mark next to it. But
No, it's a memorial. It's not a bill because
Yeah.
they're not passing a law. It's not a resolution because they're not resolving to
Yeah.
do anything. It is a memorial that they are presenting to the federal government and going, can you please, please, please help us?
Mhm.
And I think this is nice because I've heard some comments from some of the beach politicians that this is a Joe Biden effort to, I don't know, be woke. I don't know that he's
Yeah, no.
and the Army Corps of Engineers. They're like the cowboys of the government. They do what they want. There's a joke. We're from the government and we're here to help. That is literally the Army Corps of Engineers throughout history. So this is not a partisan issue. This is definitely a bipartisan memorial that they're asking the federal government. And at some point, it will probably make it to the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives, where they will then direct. I don't even think it'll go to Joe Biden. They will then direct the ACOE, get your shit together, man. I mean, they'll do it with more bureaucratic speak, but that's essentially what they're going to say.
They're going to be all right.
Good.
But
Aaron did a great job with that.
He did,
That
yes.
I only understand as much of the memorial as I do because of Aaron. So
oh, of course,
He was great.
The way he's able to simplify such a intricate situation.
it was,
I 10 out of 10 suggest reading Avi. Go read. But yeah, shout out Aaron. Thank you for doing that. You're great.
that was probably the least controversial thing in the paper this week, I would say, right?
Maybe. That's just one statewide issue, but how about we start talking about Gulfport's politics?
Yeah, that
What
doesn't make
happened
me
at the
nauseous at
forum?
all. That sounds like a great idea. Let's talk about
I mean,
Gulfport's politics.
I
Doesn't make
wasn't
me want
there.
to puke.
What happened?
What
forum?
happened? What happened?
Yes. What
The
happened at the
forum.
A
forum?
funny thing happened on the way to the forum.
On the way.
No, I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a Gen X and beyond joke. You don't have to understand it. It's okay. Every year since we bought the Gabber, we've done a candidate forum. This year we co-hosted it with the Gulfport Merchants Chamber. So on, was it January 30th?
January 30th.
January
yes.
30th,
Yeah.
Pat and John Haugen from the
Yes.
chamber co-hosted this forum, and we asked Gulfport voters and residents for questions. We got exactly 2 people answering with 3 questions. So then the chamber and the Gabber sat down and said, "Well, we can't run a forum with 3 questions." So we said, "Let's come up with some other questions," and then we let the audience submit questions the night of. And it was really interesting. If you're watching this podcast, you probably already know that this is a race for Ward 1 in Gulfport. Citywide, people elect this representative. The incumbent is April Thanos. The challenger is Tom Bixler. And it has not been, I would not call this a gentleman's race. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that in a way. It's been very interesting to see. I'm pretty new to local politics, especially, but I really enjoyed the forum itself. I thought that was handled very well between the candidates. I'd like to give a thank you to John Haugen and Nancy from the Gulfport Merchants Chamber for making my job easier there, because I was a fish out of water at that forum. I had no clue what I was doing, but
I thought you did great.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
I'm biased.
I got
'cause
handed
like
the
you.
cards and I read them. No, but both candidates definitely got up there and spoke their minds. There was it was a packed theater. There wasn't a seat available. People were standing in the back.
Do not tell the fire marshal that, please.
Sorry,
Fire marshal, strike that comment.
But it was great that, we got probably 40 note cards from the audience in the hour that we were collecting note cards of people wanting to ask questions.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we had a cutoff point of 7:30, but we could have been going till 8:30
Yeah.
if we just kept going. People really cared about it, and everybody seemed to be having a lot of fun. I had fun up there. Kathy was having a lot of fun. If you watch the video, you can hear our operations manager Patrick also having a lot of fun. But overall, it was a great experience, and I'm really glad that I was able to. I'm pretty new to all this, but I'm really glad that I was able to jump in and kind of see that happening.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What were some questions that were mostly asked Because, when you ask a group of people, like in the audience, like what they want to ask, like what was the most asked question?
The most asked question, a lot of people ask a variation of what is your goal for Gulfport? Where do you see Gulfport in 5 years? What is your wishes for Gulfport? What's the one issue you care about the most? A lot of people talked about parking, RV parking, but parking in general.
Zoning.
Zoning, yes.
Zoning,
was
man.
a
That's
big
the
deal.
one thing Gulfport, no matter where you are in Gulfport politically, everybody hates the community
What
development
does that
department.
mean? What's zoning?
Oh.
So
What a wonderful life you lead that you don't have to know that. This is
this is the
edit
time
it.
I need to know.
You do. So zoning, community development covers zoning. Where can you have a business? Where can you have a hotel? Where can you have a restaurant? Where can you have a dispensary?
And that's what zoning is.
Yeah, but they also say, so let's say that, and this is a goal for the Gabber in the coming months, is to find a property somewhere on Beach Boulevard or 22nd Boulevard where we can own a property.
Oh.
So the odds are we're going to have to go in and make some changes. Zoning gets to tell us whether every single one of those changes is okay. And they get to do it with forms in triplicate. I don't know if you've ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and know what Vogons are. I'm going to leave it at that for people who know. It is a very bureaucratic process, and it can be really frustrating for people who are trying to open a business who don't want to circumvent the law, but they don't know.
I mean, that was
I get that.
Like, both candidates talked about that more than probably 4 or 5 times each throughout the night, because
it's a big deal.
At every city council meeting, somebody's talking about the permitting process and how terrible it is to go through the community development department, because it's just, you can't do it online. There's just so many, it takes a very long time, and it's like she said, it's as simple as like just a minor change to the building of the property, but it has to go through this to be legal. And that was a big deal. Obviously, both candidates have like their own things that they talked about. April is a big environmentalist, and that was obviously one of the major touch points of her whole forum.
Yay, trees.
Yeah, I mean,
trees.
Yay, trees.
She's a big tree hero. Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't love trees, especially here?
Right.
It's great.
So with the forum, what was there like a lot of different kind of comments, I guess? Like, did they have ranging comments? Were they like polar opposites? Were they more closely related, like from Tommy and April?
I found it interesting how often they agreed.
Okay.
They did agree. I mean, one of the questions that was asked was, one of the questions that the audience submitted was, what is the major policy difference that you see between the opponents?
Okay.
And April didn't, she spoke about she didn't really know what policies Tommy would be having. But Tommy spoke about how he disagrees with, he claims that April said that they would outsource garbage production and all of this stuff, and that would, Tommy claims that would get rid of the jobs for that. April refuted that and said that the employees for the garbage service would be absorbed.
Okay.
But that was like the biggest thing that they disagreed on. And other than that, it was really, even Tommy, so they spoke about, there was a question about Clam Bayou and birds.
Okay, yeah.
And April, it was very funny, she goes, as much as I love trees, I love birds. And the whole crowd laughed. And when it was Tommy's turn to speak, he said, probably not as much as her, but I also love birds. And it was, I did find it cool how much they agreed. And obviously it's a nonpartisan position. It's just city council is making decisions that only affect the city and are not about anything relatively political, I'd say. I mean, it's political in the way that it's handled because it's a political it's a political position. Yeah. But like the parties aren't really, there's no party system. It's just the ward you're in, who you're representing, and voting on issues that affect the whole city.
And I want to add that in my tenure sitting through those meetings, God bless you, I have seen some people who I know voted for Donald Trump do some things that on a national level, we would consider socialist. And I have seen some people who I know probably voted for Bernie Sanders do some things that I would say, well, that's kind of emblematic of what you would see at a Trump rally. So it really is a nonpartisan position, and they do a great job of, overall, they do a great job of putting Gulfport above politics, above national politics, and that's been nice.
Yeah, that's not to say that there isn't disagreement at the council meetings, because there definitely is.
No.
Go ahead and ask April. She'll tell you that how fed up she is with
Yep.
the rest of the council disagreeing with her. But when you're bringing up ideas that you want to see put in and that you want to push and that you feel are important, it's not about the party. It's not about anything but the idea and about the process of it. So that's been really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wasn't there, so I was expecting a little bit more of a fiery debate, but
Well, just because there wasn't any fire at the debate doesn't mean that there's no room for smoke in Gulfport. Because
okay.
here we are sitting outside the Gulfport Cigar Company.
Thank you.
And we're
Thank
going
you,
to talk
Gulfport Cigar Company.
to... Yeah, thank you to Gulfport Cigar Company. But we're going to speak to the owner, Rob Burkhart, who just recently had his grand opening this past weekend. We're sitting here now with Rob Burkhart, the owner of the Gulfport Cigar Company, who just had the grand opening on Saturday at noon. So, Rob, if you want to say a couple words about that.
Yeah, we took over from the original owner, Mike Allgaier, on December 1st. And we've been planning this for, well, probably before then. And we had, with taking over a business right around Christmas time, it's real difficult to get reps here. And, everybody's got a Christmas party on Saturday. So, the Saturdays before Christmas. So with my schedule also still being a police officer and everybody, we just couldn't get it together until this past Saturday.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful event it was. We really had a blast.
It was great. I mean, there was a crowd out here by 11:30, and the barbecue started to get set up, and everybody was having a good time.
Yeah, we lost count, I think, at 100 people.
Wow.
We had people out on the sidewalk. People had to walk around on the right of way to get around us.
People brought their own
I was
chairs to sit
overwhelmed.
out here.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get code enforcement after him or zoning. We just had a whole segment on zoning. We don't want to talk about it. So did you have some pork?
I did. It was good. It was great.
Did you?
It was from Hams R Us, correct?
Yeah.
It
And
was delicious.
So, all right, full disclosure. Do you know where that pork came from?
No clue.
Did you kill it?
I did.
You did?
I did. Yeah.
Huh.
So a couple months ago, I had, I'm a hunter,
Yeah.
and I'd taken 4 pigs and I gave 2 to Will, and I said, hey, save 2 of those for the grand opening. So
Where's my pig?
I got plenty.
No, you didn't kill a chicken.
No, I did
Okay.
not. No, I did not kill the chicken. They were wild boar from Southwest Georgia.
Wow. No, that was delicious. It was very good. He did a great job. And
And no chemicals, all organic.
Free range?
Free range. Right.
Certified humane?
You're certified humane, grain fed mostly. We feed them a lot of corn,
Also, look, everybody eats corn.
Yeah.
Also, pigs are mean. Wild
They
boar
are.
Yeah,
are
no,
very
they are
mean,
mean.
and they're
Pigs
very
suck.
tasty, and that is a lethal
They
combination.
are mean, yes.
So I want to point out at this point in the podcast is
Okay.
that this is not a paid spot. And I know we feel like we've given you a lot of press, and I mentioned
have.
to you earlier, I had to tell Patrick to ratchet down the effusiveness of how great you were. But I think there's another reason that's fascinating to us, is that this is like your side hustle.
This is, let's say post-retirement side hustle.
So tell everybody, tell the viewers and listeners out there what you do from 9 to 5 or
Okay, so
6 to 3
for
or
the
whatever.
past 24 plus years, I've been a police officer with the city of Gulfport. My current assignment, I'm the special operations sergeant. I'm in charge of school resource officers, K-9, the Marine unit, and special events, which also kind of works for me having a business in downtown.
Yeah.
I work very closely with Justin Shea. And so I really get to stay on top of it, especially having a business here. It kind of it's flowing nicely, to be honest with you.
so how's business been? I mean, I know you said you opened in December, correct? How's business been since then?
Wonderful. We've had a lot of support from the community, and I'm surprised at how many Gulfport citizens that I did not know were cigar people and cigar smokers. People come in every day, and one of the things that I ask them is, where are you from, and how did you hear about us? And there's people that say, I'm a cigar smoker, and I read the Gabber. So it's been great.
I remember when I talked to you in December, there was somebody who had come from, I believe, Europe, and they were talking to you about cigars. And I remember at the grand opening, you said something about how important it is to have a cigar shop in a town like this, because it not only does it bring in business, but whether or not you smoke, it's a place for people to come in, meet each other, new or old smoker. You can come in and learn. And that's definitely what I saw. I mean, my friend and I were sitting here kind of waiting for everything to kick off, and two men came and sat down and we talked with them for 20 minutes, and then everybody was meeting each other, talking.
Right.
It's a really cool area.
What you may not know, our bookkeeper, Clear Numbers, the woman who runs it, is also Rob's bookkeeper.
Yes.
Oh.
And she comes back. She's been here doing his book. She's like, if you want to find out anything that's happening in Gulfport, you got to go to the cigar shop. Like, people stop in and they share knowledge and wisdom and as they would say in the Bahamas, sip, sip.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So you got to get some good information.
Yeah.
Is this like the unofficial GPD headquarters south? Or?
No, I would say there's not a lot of police business that gets conducted, but I would say that there would be a lot of, for the lack of a better term, like we're like the male's version of a hair salon. Like there's a lot of, I wouldn't say gossip, but news and current events and what's going on in the city.
So give me something juicy.
Juicy. Well, I don't know.
You don't know. You hear it all day. I know they come in.
Well, you're the gabber. You should know these things.
How do you think I find out? I ask people like you.
Nothing that's juicy, but we talk more about sports and current events than probably anything else. I mean, guys hanging out. I mean, we're really, not everybody's a rocket scientist, so you could imagine the.
Are you planning on doing anything? I know that you close at 6 on Sunday, but is there anything going on here for the Super Bowl?
Absolutely, yeah. I've been getting a lot of questions about that. We're probably going to do something with the Super Bowl. I'm probably going to ask Will to maybe do a round 2 with that, or we've had some people that have volunteered to do maybe like a potluck. Like the regular customers come in and just
do a chili cook-off too.
Just do it. There's a great idea.
That's awesome.
It's 2 degrees right now, so.
2 degrees.
It'll be nice. I think
my brother's down here from Pennsylvania. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Loving
well,
it.
those people aren't right. So 2 jobs.
2 jobs.
You got to be exhausted.
It has been, but it's what's been nice is that this coming here for me doesn't really. It's work, but it doesn't feel like work because it's something I've really found out that I enjoy cleaning ashtrays and emptying trash. That's really what I do. It's like,
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that because you good?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I keep getting phone calls. Yeah, I didn't mean to.
Sometimes people silence their phone when they're on the podcast.
Well, I'm still owning the store, so I just to make sure it's not a customer.
Pretty sure if it's on fire, you're going to figure it out.
I'll figure it out. Yeah.
I do the same thing. I have this job where I have to think all day and do things and talk to people. And sometimes all I want to do is go home and clean a toilet, man. Like,
but
when it's done, it's done.
Right. I'm a police officer for 8+ hours a day, and then to come here and just all I have to worry about is cleaning ashtrays and emptying trash and making sure people.
So now, what happens if
cigars.
somebody breaks the law? You can't arrest them, right?
If it's a felony or a major disruption in the peace, a breach of peace, breach of peace.
Okay.
If it's a felony or breach of peace, then yes, I can. Yeah. Oh, I'm in Gulfport, so.
But if somebody comes in here and they're visibly high, you're not going to arrest them.
Well, there's a difference between being high and being in possession.
Is possession a felony if it's less than an ounce? I mean, I hear.
Yeah.
It's a felony to possess?
No, it's not a felony if it's
right. So
if it's less than an ounce.
You can't arrest them.
Well, I can if it's in my presence.
Really? So you would do that?
No. I mean, no. Who's going to come in here and they don't know I'm a police officer?
You're going to get
him in trouble.
They're not going to come in here and say, "Look at my bag of weed." They're not going to do that. It's never happened.
You and I live in a different Gulfport.
Okay. No, honestly, for the record, no one has ever come in here and said, "Oh, I have a bag of weed." It's never happened.
Has anybody ever come in and been like, "Are there any cigars that are easy to unroll, or anything, or like cigarillos or something?"
All right. So that's a legit question, right?
Yeah.
We have people that have come in and said that they're looking for I guess the legit stuff. I guess the stuff that you can get at these dispensaries now. Or they're looking for real cheap cigars that they may want to.
I just know about the crappy stuff at the gas
but we don't.
See, that makes no sense
like
for me because
Swisher
if you're paying the money to go to a dispensary, you don't have to go buy a cheap cigar.
Yeah, well, we're not
or
selling,
ruin a good one.
Yeah, and nothing against Philly Blunts. I mean, they're actually not bad machine rolled cigars, but we're not selling them.
Yeah.
We sell high quality premium cigars. So
Are all your cigars hand rolled?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything machine rolled in here.
Oh, wow.
No, it's all hand rolled stuff.
Any
yeah.
Cubans?
No Cubans. So,
Damn it.
well, up until a couple of years ago, you were never allowed to sell them since the embargo happened, but you were allowed to bring them into the country a certain amount, and then I think, I don't know, I don't remember if it was Trump or Biden that reenacted the embargo. You couldn't bring them in anymore. So
I believe
illegal.
that was Donald Trump.
They're not illegal to possess, but you can't bring them into the country anymore.
Huh.
Yeah, we got Barry and I got a couple of nice Cubans for our wedding. It was one of our gifts was from a friend who I didn't know smoked.
Do you still have them?
Yeah.
Make sure I take a look at them and make sure if they're not counterfeit. There's a lot. Counterfeit Cuban cigars are there's more counterfeit cigars than there are real cigars out there. Yeah.
But not in here.
I don't have any. I don't have any Cubans.
But can people bring can they go, would you be able to tell?
In most instances, myself or somebody else in the store would.
Be your second side hustle.
It could be, yeah. I'll legitimize your Cuban cigar.
So I know obviously right on the sign it says cigar lounge. Does that mean that could somebody bring in their own cigar and sit in the lounge and smoke it and talk with you guys?
That's like walking into a McDonald's and bringing a hamburger, right? You kind of don't want to do that. I mean, does it happen? I mean, yeah. So, we there's cigar lounges that charge what's called a cutting fee. Like some guys that ask, there's some guys that don't, I know some guys in town that only smoke certain cigars, and if I don't stock them, hey, do you mind if I bring in my own? Now, proper etiquette would be to, hey, buy something for me and then smoke your own. You can do that. Some lounges charge a cutting fee. Or if you want to bring your own, it's $5. $5 to cut.
So, but there's no ATF law like bringing your own gin into a bar. You can't do that.
Right, you can't.
People
do that.
get very uptight about
right,
that.
Yeah, can't do that.
I've heard.
No can do it.
But there's nothing here. Like, we're not going to broadcast this, and then tomorrow ATF isn't going to come in.
No. Well, there's nothing wrong. I mean, if you want to bring in your own cigar, bring in your own cigar. But it's up to me if I want to let you smoke it or not.
Yeah,
kind of trashy.
But honestly, in all my time in cigar lounge, it's very rare that happens. I mean, why would you want to do that? If you're going to go, even if you did want to do that, buy something in the house or buy, there's something in there you want to buy something and it won't be a big deal.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, well,
this is fascinating. This is we're not advertising for you. In fact, we're telling people don't go to Gulfport Cigars. It's not an ad.
Gulfport Cigar Company.
Whatever.
See, again, there it is with the
No, I'm trying not to advertise for you. No, we're not saying
with
go
the sign
there.
in the background.
But it's fascinating to me. It's anytime I would see a humidor in a liquor lounge or something like that, or when there was that other one up there on Gulfport Boulevard years ago that was a laundromat and then it was a cigar store.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, just go in and get a cigar. I didn't realize there was this whole culture, and I'm probably
there's a huge culture.
I'm very naive.
There's a huge culture. Yeah. Well, one of the reasons, just to clarify, I wanted to have. I bought that sign that said cigar lounge because I wanted a distinction between, people use lounge and bar synonymously, and I didn't want that to be, it's a cigar bar. Well, we don't serve alcohol here. So I wanted it to be, it's a cigar lounge.
Can people bring their own booze in?
Technically, no.
Technically.
No.
Okay, we're going to leave it at that.
Technically, no.
So, I just did both of them. I smacked my lips and said so. What's your favorite cigar that you've been smoking recently?
My favorite cigar is the Oliva Serie V Milanio. Okay. It is a wonderful cigar. Coincidentally, Tom Losh, the Oliva rep, is here today.
Oh wow!
We had we had him on site for the grand opening, and we sold a lot of Olivas. So currently this month we're doing a special buy 3 get 1 free.
Oh wow!
And I've almost sold out. They went that well. Oliva's a wonderful cigar. Not that there's a lot of other wonderful cigars that has always kind of been my go-to. Now it's not something you want to smoke every day. I mean, they're not real expensive, but they're above that sweet spot of $10, $10 price point. But they're not. It's not a 50. I think we're asking. I think $16.75, which is about to go on an MSRP for them.
Yeah. My buddy and I, we were out in downtown St. Pete the other night, and we stopped by Ruby's Elixir and grabbed Arturo Fuente. I don't know much about cigars. My experience with cigars started with Black and Mild in college, and that was
fair enough.
You should not tell people that.
Yeah, no, it's not I'm not proud of it, but
I started with Swisher Sweet, so it happens, you know.
But
fine.
yeah, we were out and we stopped by Ruby's Elixir down there and grabbed a beer and a cigar and sat and listened to some live music, and I was just amazed by like how like it's not different, but it does enhance the experience of like you have a beer and a cigar sitting there and you take a drag of the cigar and you're like, oh, it's
relaxing.
It's interesting.
It's relaxing,
yeah,
right?
It's fun. It's nice, and you can, I mean, whatever people want to say about smoking, like
well, it's a good thing you brought up, because there is now I'm not going to sit here and say that cigars are the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
They're not, but they're not cigarettes. There is a difference. I mean, a cigarette has over 200 chemicals in it.
Mm-hmm.
Every cigar in this shop is something that is all natural. There's nothing chemical in a cigar that, you know, a premium cigar. They're hand rolled. It's grown tobacco. There's no chemicals in it. Even the pectin that they use to bind the cigar wrapper together is all natural. It's made of natural ingredients.
My buddy and I have it's a bit of a joke, but it's like if you took all the tobacco out of a cigar, you wouldn't have anything. If you took out all the tobacco out of a cigarette, it would still cause cancer.
Correct.
So
yeah. Now, again, with that being said, you know, is it the healthiest thing in the world? No, but it's certainly not. It's certainly not a cigarette.
Well, you don't inhale, do you?
No, you don't. Well, I mean, you can.
No, but you and Bill Clinton, no inhaling.
No inhaling. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's mostly you could still get cancer, but it's more of a lip tongue. Like, if you're not inhaling, it's not going to.
Yeah, I'm not a clinician or
Yeah,
not an MD, but I guess you could. You know.
No, I mean, no, I know that but no, lung cancer doesn't come from cigars if you're not inhaling.
George Burns lived to be 100, so and he smoked how many a day? You know,
Lou Worthington. Lou Worthington. I've known him.
Well,
since...
Lou chews on them.
Yes, he doesn't.
He actually brought. Yeah, he doesn't smoke them. And he smoked. Believe it or not, he really nice cigars. I thought they were cheap. He came in here and he a friend of his got him a gift certificate. And when I found out what he was chewing on, I'm like, wow, those are really nice cigars he has. Yeah, I thought it was something, you know, a cheap, you know, one of the lower end hand rolls. He likes the Toro Fuentes. Believe it or not.
Oh wow, yeah. It's something that I mean, I know they're not that expensive, but it's one of those things where it's like going and getting a box of cigars is not really something that I'd be spending money on right now, but it is something that I enjoy, and I every time I've smoked a cigar, like a real cigar, I've liked it. So
good.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like anything else, you know. It's like cars or wines, or you know, there's different brands. You know, some people drive Ferrari, some people drive Chevys, and they'll both get you to where you want to go. It's just how you want to go there.
I thought it was really interesting when we went into Ruby's Elixir. The guy asked us. He said, "What is your drink?" And I told him, "Oh, I prefer whiskey." And he's like, "Okay, I'll pick out a cigar for you based on that."
Right.
I found that really interesting.
It's almost like they're like cigar sommeliers.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
that was really
cool.
cool.
Isn't it? Yeah. I am not that good yet. I will hopefully get there one day, but we don't have alcohol here, so I guess it's going to be insignificant. But you know, there are you know, many different options. You know, something, if you want something mild, medium, full body, something that's really light, that it's not going to, you know, give you a whole lot of spice and flavor, and we have stuff that'll really knock your socks off, you know, if you want to go that road. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Rob. It was a lot of fun to have you.
And thank the two of you, and you guys have been wonderful, and I can't express my gratitude enough, not only for you guys, but for all the people that showed up to our grand opening and have been customers. It's been a wonderful, eye-opening experience. I was overwhelmed. This has been great.
Yeah, I'll say Gulfport is, and obviously you drew from outside Gulfport for this, but Gulfport is really good about, like, I don't know how good they are with the Dunkin' Donuts or the regions or anything like that, but with the local business, Gulfport turns up.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have been amazed how long some really bad restaurants have stayed in business, and I've heard people say, yeah, their food's not good, but they're so nice, and, you know, the owners live here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nice. It's nice to live somewhere where that's kind of the standard.
Well, we had a lot of Gulfport residents here. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, not everybody was, but, you know, there were people that came as far as well, I had a friend of mine that they came down from Blue Ridge, Georgia, just for this.
Wow.
I had no idea they were showing up. They surprised me. I almost wanted to cry.
That's really cool.
But we had people that, you know, came down because the cigar community, believe it or not, is a pretty tight-knit community. When something like this happens, you know, they want to see what's going on, and they want to see what's happening. And we advertised. We did a great social media presence. We advertised, obviously, with you, and you know, look at the result. It was wonderful.
And some of the council members were here as well.
Yeah,
and that was really cool to see. Just everybody from the community. And I mean, like you were saying, I went over and I talked to the owner of the corner store over there, and he was also saying the same thing of just like, man, it's been great. People have been coming in, talking to us. They've been buying stuff, and it definitely, like, I know that when we were talking about store runners coming in, you were able to list all of the restaurants that have been there for a while,
Yes.
but it's, like you said, you talked about how the food at, what was it called? The
Oh,
Mexican-
don't say the name because I don't want to.
Well, you said it last time.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You said,
I feel bad because the people I still occasionally will see the descendants, and I feel bad. But yeah, like Casa Cortez, man, people. There were people who loved it. Like,
yeah, it's great.
But a lot of people couldn't stand it, but they still went there, and they're like, yeah, but they're so nice, and the service is great, and they're local.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's a thing here. Like shop local is really trendy
Right.
everywhere, but it's something here I see people really get on board with that.
like I tried to stress during the, when I talked to the grand opening, it's like, whether or not you agree with coming in and smoking a cigar, or even agree with cigars, you cannot deny the fact that it brings people here.
Mhm.
And, whether or not you have a husband or a wife or a significant other that likes cigars, one of them's going to stay here and the other one's going to shop at your boutiques. They're going to shop at the art galleries. They're going to eat at the restaurants. People come here all the time from I hear, oh, what did you do tonight? Oh, I was at the Drunken Taco. I was at Pia's. I was at Tommy's Hideaway. I was at, we were at O'Matty's. Any one of the restaurants,
Or also, like, people who, like, cigar enthusiasts who come to Gulfport for, like, tourism or something like that, they can come over and say, oh, there's a cigar store here. I didn't know that a small city like this would have a cigar store, and then they can come in and meet some of the Gulfport locals in here smoking a cigar. And it's a really interesting way to just, like, it's an addition to the tourist scene that you wouldn't really think about because, like, only the cigar people are going to come in. But no, people who anybody can come in, and anybody can.
It's almost like having a chamber of commerce. People come in and ask us questions all the time, like, "Oh, what do you do? Where do you eat? What do you
Oh, we get those too.
Oh, well, yeah, true. But
I think every local business gets those.
Yeah, no, true. But I mean, like, it's people come in here all the time, and even they ask us questions, and they're not even cigar smokers.
Yeah. I mean, I've not yet. I haven't bought a cigar from you, but I've probably been in here 5 times to talk to you, and also just to see, taking the smells, look around, meet people.
Yeah,
it's I will be back soon.
Okay,
with the cigar in hand, or to get a cigar in hand.
All right, we'll make that happen.
Well, thanks again, Rob, and thank you to you and the rest of the staff of the Gulfport Cigar Company for letting us film out here. It was really nice to have you, and thank you, Kathy, as well, for coming on the podcast with us.
I love spending time with you and Cam.
And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys as well. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Well, don't thank us too much. The minute you do something wrong, we're going to write about that too.
Yeah, this I know.
All right. Well, Cam isn't here to talk us out, so I guess what we have to say is, on behalf of Cameron, who is the person who should be saying this, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Rob, thanks for being here. Did I leave anything out?
I mean,
I do a good Cam.
Yeah, you did a pretty good Cam. I mean, it's not that hard.
Wow. We'll see you next time on WGAB.